What's going on, y'all? It's the kid Nolan here. Today I want to talk about the work that really goes into being a fully independent, fully self-managed music entrepreneur, full-time artist. All right. Because a lot of times when you see people go on interviews or people pull up to seminars or conferences, and they talk about, man, just go do the work. Can't nobody do the work for you. But what is the work? And this is a question that I consistently used to ask myself days on end. You know what I mean? I'm gonna use my own story as a way to kind of give y'all a glimpse into what some of that work actually is. So coming out of 2019, I was working 2 jobs, man. I was getting up at 4 a.m. going to work, and my days really wouldn't end until about 11 p.m. All right, so I was getting up at 4, I was going to work at 5, I was getting off that job around 2, getting home like 3, going to my other job at 4, get home around 10:30, go to sleep 11, do it all over again. I ended up leaving one of those jobs in October 2019, and it was just way too much for me to do, man, to stay functional and still try to have like some sort of connection with my music and having a personal life. So I had to let that other job go. The first real breakthrough that I had was when Low Deluxe hit me up to do Top Shelf Freestyle with Hot 97. So we filmed that in December 2019. And what's interesting about that time was that my job was actually about to go on a 2-week break. I worked for Lockheed. They basically are in line with like all of the state holidays and, you know, going by the school holidays and all that type of stuff. So I had a 2-week paid break coming up, but in order to get that pay, you had to work the last day before the break, and you had to make sure that you come back and work the first day after the break was over. Lo and behold, Low Deluxe gives me the date, and it's scheduled for the last day of my work before the break. So I had to take that day off, which meant I forfeit 2 weeks of pay. I've talked about this before. I did it, no hesitation really. You know what I'm saying? Even though rent was coming up at the end of the month, I knew I was forging 2 weeks of pay. I just had to make it happen, man. So I went out there, 8-Town, stomped my way on there. Shout out to my guys that was on that episode of Top Shelf, Mech For Real, L's Money Music, aka the Pharaoh. We did our thing. To this day, it's still one of the more popular episodes out of that Top Shelf freestyle situation. It's gotten over like 115,000 views. People are still watching it. People still commenting on it. So it still continue to have impact even today. But yeah, we shot that in December. It ended up coming out in February of 2020. But we're not going to fast forward there just yet. So at the end of the year, I actually decided to go into a management situation with this dude that I had known pretty much for about 4 or 5 years. Didn't know him that well, I would say, but I seen him in passing. We had a lot of mutual friends, mutual acquaintances from the same circle. So it felt like a pretty good fit because he was very familiar with what I do. I was very familiar with what he was doing. And it seemed like a good fit because, like I said, I was working 2 jobs at a time. I just quit one job. I was really ready to make a move with my music going forward because I wanted to put a big impact into the game in 2020. So I wanted to try to start building a team. And he was like that first piece. So the outline what that agreement looked like, man, we did a 1-year commitment that basically had an option at the end where he could choose to renew the contract with me if he felt satisfied with the way things went. Now, for those of y'all that might not be familiar with what options are, they have the option to keep you on file for another year, or they can allow you to go and be free and do whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? Similar to how, you know, athletes got the player options. They can exercise their player option to either get waived and go to free agency or extend their contract type of situation. Of course, I'm not an NBA player, but it's pretty much the same principle that you hear about in sports. I agreed to pay $300 a month or 20%. Now, how does that work? If my gross revenue for any given month brought in enough money to where his 20% would equal more than $300, then I would pay him that total. Okay, so it's a little confusing. Some people may not agree with it, but you know what I mean. I was hungry at the time. I wanted somebody to work with that I knew and could trust, or felt like I could trust, and that's what we went with. So around that time, I had also, you know, started getting acclimated to the whole Fiverr situation. Y'all know about my Fiverr situation. Y'all know I write songs for small businesses, artists, all type of people. So I don't even got to go into that. But one of the first things that we did when we began our partnership was he was like, hey man, you got to raise them prices, bro. Like you're not charging enough. And what he suggested was that I do a full 100% price gouge for my clients. And I put up a little resistance, but he was like, man, you got to trust me and you got to trust your work, man. You giving people some fire ass shit, man. Like if you really believe in yourself and you believe in your product, man, people still gonna come. Well, it didn't happen that way. I did that, and I went on like a 2.5 month slump where the money was not coming in. So I basically was just going to work, getting my paycheck from there, and all my little side hustle money basically came to an end. So I made an executive decision. I was like, yo man, I cannot continue to do this. This was a bad call, but I'm gonna let it slide because I understand what you was trying to do. So I decreased my price by 50%, so I was still able to make more than I was making previously, but it wasn't so much that I was outpricing my customers and consumers. Following that decision, the Hot 97 Top Shelf Freestyle episode came out. Everybody saw it, went crazy. So I guess it was right on time, and you know, it was a good time for me to kind of like capitalize on my buzz that I was getting off that show. And you know, I decreased my price a little bit, so my clients was coming back, everything was rolling. It was a good time. Around my birthday is March 20th. Anybody that want to look out for the kid next year, you know what I'm saying, put it in your calendar or something. It's all good. But around March 23rd, COVID was going crazy. Of course, y'all know how last year was. But I was getting up at 4 in the morning going to work, and I'm like, yo man, y'all got to give me an explanation about something, bro. Like people getting sick, people dying. Like what is the move? Like what is the solution? Y'all ain't even really addressing this. Like I'm starting to hear rumblings that people that work up here done got sick. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at the demographic of people I work around. They all in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, you know what I'm saying? Because Lockheed is one of those jobs that people lock in, you know what I mean, in their late 20s, early 30s, and they basically ride it out into retirement. So I was around all of these older people, and I'm getting rumblings that people actually got sick and y'all trying to hide it and talking about HIPAA regulations. And when it comes to personal health and safety, I'm not worried about no HIPAA regulations, you know what I mean? But eventually, you know, a couple days passed. They ended up sending me and a group of others home. We got sent home on furlough. For those of y'all that have never been in that situation before, a furlough is a temporary layoff. Now, to call it temporary is kind of crazy because it's been 1.5 years since then, and I still ain't heard from them. So basically, on paper, I have been unemployed, but I'm self-employed because I've been picking up the slack with this music. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? We're gonna get into that. So last year I did a lot of recording, a lot of strategizing and building. All the songs that y'all heard from me and Dope Norteria that ended up coming out this year that we've been rolling out month by month. We recorded all that content last year, from the music to the videos to pretty much everything was done last year, except with the exception of like the splash video. I was getting in the studio with other people. I got other projects that are on the way. So I put a lot of work in last year studio wise, and just planning and strategizing. So in the midst of doing all of that, something ended up going crazy, and the manager that I hired ended up being OD disrespectful to one of the homies. I can't even tell y'all the situation because it's too sensitive, it's too real, and based on what I'm gonna actually reveal in this conversation, you'll kind of see why I don't want to get into it. Homie didn't even want to apologize for how he treated the homie, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sitting there witnessing it, and dude was like, well, if it makes you feel any better, if you don't feel like I'm fit to be in this position with you because you've been doing your thing all this time prior to me, I'm willing to let you out of this contract, man. Just let me know, you know, take your time. You can sit and think about it. I ain't gonna rush you. So I took him up on that offer. I said, yeah, man, I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to terminate this because basically leading up to this situation, dude was acting a little erratic. He was pulling like little stunts that I didn't really understand. And it just really made me question, like, man, how does he really talk to people when I'm not around? Because I'm seeing when I'm around, you know, it can be a little abrasive, a little bit outspoken, which is nothing wrong with being outspoken, but just like not even knowing how to separate business and personal situations, you know what I mean? And when I said I'm gonna take you up on that offer, shit went even worse. So basically dude was like, well, if I let you out this contract early, you're gonna have to pay me for the remainder of the time that we have on file, and I was going to renew for another year to exercise my option. So you got to pay all that off, which came out to like excess of like $3,000. He was trying to extort me. And then you could do whatever you want. And I'm like, man, what the fuck? After we had that conversation, he sent me a breach of contract to my door saying that I was colluding with outside management. But in the paperwork, he stated that the outside management was a smoothie company. Like, so you mean to tell me that I'm gonna go seek out management from a smoothie company? That don't even make sense. Like, the optics of it don't make sense. The business of it don't make sense. Like, not a partnership or an endorsement, but management. But what? During the time that we was working together, he was always asking me like, man, do you have access to an attorney? Do you have an attorney? This, that, and the third. Now, I always say yeah, because it was like, you know, if we get to a certain point where a label wants to make an offer, or you get on like a TV show or something and they give you some terms and try to offer you some money, we need to have somebody in our corner that can go over all the logistics and help us make the right decision. So I'm like, yeah, man, I got that. But I think he was always I think anytime I said yeah, I think he thought I was bullshit. So when this whole situation came to be, first thing I did, thanks to my girlfriend, she was like, yo, reach out to the attorney. You know what I mean? So we did. I say, man, does he have any proper grounds on like what the fuck he talking about, where he trying to entitle himself to this money, trying to say he got a sunset clause on me and all this different stuff. And for anybody that's, you know, watching this video, research into what a sunset clause is, you know what I mean? Because basically, sunset clause is basically a protection plan that allows you to still get paid for a certain amount of time after y'all have gone your separate ways. It's a common practice in the world of music management, artist management. So make sure you familiarize yourself with that terminology, because he called himself trying to put that on me. Luckily, it didn't go that way. So she ended up, you know, sending him a termination letter saying you either honor the commitment of the offer you made to him to let him go, or we're gonna have to pursue further legal action. You know what I mean? He ended up backing down and submitting his letter of resignation or whatever and going our separate ways. But I want y'all to understand that situations like this don't always end as smoothly. Shortly after we terminated our agreement and our partnership, I've been turned up out here, man. You know, first thing I did was I put together the Always Make a Way tour, which was a combination between virtual and in-person shows to close out the year. So even though things weren't going exactly how I wanted them to, like, I just decided to move forward and just put the gas on it. Now, what I want y'all to understand about this whole situation is I've always been who I am right now. I've always been passionate about the music business. I had already started the Songwriters Social Club a year prior to us even getting into our arrangement. I was already doing enough work and tapped into the game to where Loaded Lux ended up seeing my submission of what he was doing, and personally made sure that I was flown out to New York to be a part of that Top Shelf show. I'd already been doing the Fresh and Local Fest for a number of years. I was already writing songs for other people. Like I said, I was previously involved in sync writing, you know what I'm saying, sync licensing. I started doing that in 2013, and although it wasn't as consistent as it currently is, when we came into our agreement, he was like, man, you got to tell me about this sync licensing game, man. I need to learn more about that, you know what I'm saying, so I can educate myself and educate, you know, my other clients and stuff like that, so that they can know how to get into that too. The idea to write the Pen Game portfolio was an idea that I came up with on my own. I just felt like I had come to a point in my career where I was just ready to share information on a more sophisticated level. It's not like any of the stuff that I was doing was such a stretch from what I already had going on. It was just the fact that I was not, I didn't see myself as ready, you know what I mean, to take on the tasks that I'm now doing, you know what I mean? Because I felt like, man, I need to put these people in place. I gotta work, I gotta do this. I'm not able to focus. Well, I'm fully focused now, you feel me? Yeah, like I said, I put together Always Make a Way tour. Top of the year, I released the Pen Game portfolio. I've sold over 300 copies of the book so far. That may not sound like a lot, but me being completely independent and somebody that had never really sold nothing outside of like concert, you know, show tickets or CDs here and there, like for me to sell 300 copies of a ebook, and it was my first time writing anything at length since I was in school, like that's amazing to me, bruh. You know what I mean? And that actually was the catalyst for everything that I'm doing now, because right now I'm being received on a totally different level. I'm not just an artist. I'm doing consultations with people. They booking me to, do meetings and help them get their artist affairs in order. I got my first official speaking engagement coming up, where I'm gonna be sharing my story and like educating people, and I'm not gonna like throw a beat on and be rapping and shit like that. Like I'm strictly there for my wisdom and knowledge, you know what I'm saying, for the first time in my career, man. I'm looking forward to November, where I'll actually be a guest lecturer at a prestigious university. Stay in tune, man. Where we're gonna be talking about entrepreneurship and hip hop. Like, for me to even be in that type of conversation right now is amazing to me, bro. My life is changing before my eyes, and I'm so grateful. Right now I'm working on a pen game portfolio volume 2. I've talked about it, but I'm planning on having that ready for Black Friday. So get y'all a little check together, you know what I mean? Because it's gonna be so much more in depth, so much better. The more advanced artist that needs a little bit more extra direction and guidance, this gonna be for you. In addition to that, top of the year, I'm gonna finally launch my own pen game portfolio artist development course, where if you're brand new to the game and you starting from ground zero, I'm gonna give you training modules where you can learn the game from there. If you're a little bit more advanced, I'm gonna have training modules for you. And for the artists out there that's kind of got a buzz already, you're making a few dollars here and there off music, you're getting some streams, but you need to build a more sustainable business structure that you can formulate extra streams of income to build a business around your music in multiple layers. We're gonna have courses for you as well. All right, all of those things that you would expect from a manager, the things you would expect from a booking agent or an assistant or a business manager, which is not the same as an everyday manager. I'm taking on all those roles 7 days a week, you know what I'm saying? And I have to sit in those roles to where I'm doing all of that, and I'm creating songs, and I'm writing songs for other people, and I'm pitching music to music supervisors. I'm pitching music to sync agencies, you know what I mean, so that they can represent some of this other stuff that I'm creating. And I basically got like 8 jobs, you know what I'm saying? But with those 8 jobs are creating 8 additional streams of income. You feel me? And as I get further into this entrepreneurial space, I'm noticing the perks that are out there for people with businesses. And I don't want to feel like I'm the only one out of my community or out of my my tribe that's eating or starting to like basically decode the matrix, man. Like, I want to give it to y'all. I want all of us to be able to create a full independent economy within our community, man, to where if I'm eating, you eating, we all eating, we pay each other, we work together. Like, it ain't no reason for nobody to be beefing, bickering, jealous, envy, none of that type of stuff. So my mission is to educate as many of y'all as possible so that we can all get our piece of the pie, whatever that may look like. All right? And that's the work. Peace.